Welcome to ZENworks Mobile Management How-To videos. In this video, we're going to look at role-based administration inside the ZENworks Mobile Management product. Role-based administration allows you to use either predefined or custom roles to control exactly what administrators in the ZENworks Mobile Management product can do. By default, there are three predefined roles. There's the full admin role, who has full access to manage everything in the system. The support admin role, which has access to devices. And the restricted admin role, which has access to devices but is prevented from seeing privacy data, such as the phone logs or text message logs. Custom roles can be created by full admins and then by other custom admin roles that you create and grant those permissions to. In addition, privacy restrictions can be created for selected groups of users or policy suites, and then you can go ahead and specify which roles are restricted. Let's go ahead and take a look then at how you create a custom role. To create a custom role, you first choose to create a role. When you do so, you'll be asked to either copy an existing role or use sliders to set default rights. Once you've created the role, you can then modify the rights as needed. For setting access to privacy data, simply go into the Enable Privacy Protection option, add a user, domain, or policy suite, configure the data you want to be protected, and then select the administrative roles that should be restricted. Once you have your roles created, then you need to be able to create administrators. So in the console, create an admin. If the admin's defined in LDAP, make sure you specify the LDAP server. So you will have had to previously create an LDAP server, and then specify that user's LDAP name. Assign a role to the administrator. And then once you've done that and the administrator logs in, you're going to get logged in and you can specify and have those rights. So let's take a look at how you do that in the console. So in the console, you're going to come to the System page. In there, you can go under Organizational Administrative Roles and Role Permissions. On the Role Permissions page, you can then add a new role. When you do that, you can either create administrative roles using a slider, which is what we'll start with, demo role, and then you basically specify, do you want this to be restricted? Do you want this to be a support admin? Or do you want this to be a full admin to start with? All this does is preset the rights. So we'll go ahead and say we want it to be a support admin. Say finish. Once we have that, then you can see the individual settings that you can turn on or off. So there's quite a few of them. You'll see prevent role from managing administrator accounts, roles, and user privacy protections. By default, this is something that's only given to full administrators. So you'll see right now it's set to yes, which means I can't create new administrators, I can't create rights or roles, and I can't modify user privacy protection. Down here, I have the rest of the settings that correspond to the tabs up at the top. So you can see this particular user has read-only access to the activity monitor. If I expand the user session, you'll see that this user is allowed to add users. So I might say, no, you can't add users. I can go ahead and specify that he's able to do the rest of those things. On the organization side, you can see I'm not allowed to configure iOS corporate resources, but I can read them. Maybe I'm the mobile application administrator, so I could go ahead and say, yes, I'm allowed to control mobile applications. Also, I would need to be able to create policy suites potentially. Once I have those, I can then save this role by clicking Save Changes. I now have that role created. Next, if I need user privacy protection for this group, I can come to the user privacy protection. You'll see by default it was added as a restricted role, which means I can't access the privacy data as a member of that role. To protect a particular user, domain, or policy group, I can add protection. I can base that either on the user, in which case I can specify domain and username, or based on something assigned to a particular policy suite. So I might assign this to the demo policy and say I don't want restricted users to have access to the SMS logs or the MMS logs. I'm okay with the location, but maybe not the phone logs. And I don't really care about the file list. When I say finish, you'll see it lets me know I have to restrict those. If I pick by policy suite, we can see exactly what it is that's been protected. I can then save these changes. So we'll create an administrator under Organization Administrators. Click Add Administrator. This is an administrator who's been defined already in my Active Directory server, so I'll select Admin LDAP Server. The user's name is their email format address for Active Directory. For eDirectory, it's usercn at treename. We'll put in some information about how to contact them. You'll notice password is grayed out because I'm going to use the administrator LDAP server. And so I use my normal eDirectory or Active Directory password. And then I can add myself to the new role and specify a default view. So let's say I want to make the organization view my default. I'll say finish. That user is now created, so I can log out. And I can now log in that user to my directory. So you see I'm now logged in. If I go into Exchange servers, for instance, I can see the Exchange server, but you'll notice that the Add New Exchange server is grayed out because that wasn't one of the rights I was given. However, we did give this user rights to create mobile applications. So you'll see that this user can add mobile applications. Additionally, we took away this user's rights to add users. So if I go to the Users tab, you'll see that the users are there, but that I can't add any new users. Now, if I go ahead and open up my Android device, you'll remember I set up privacy protection and took away the access to view the audit information. So you'll see at this point that there is no SMS log on the left-hand side like there typically is, or a text log. If I go to the audit data, you'll notice I can't see anything on this list either because I don't have rights to the phone log or the text log. So we've successfully protected the user's data, although I can see the user's location. And so if I click here, you'll see that I'm still at Novell. So what you've seen here is the ability to create custom roles, protect private data that may be sensitive in nature, and then create custom administrators and assign your custom roles to them. Thank you.